Today we're going to be learning lesson 6, which is also about joining. For this lesson, you're going to need your root card and the materials you need to complete your choice of vocab strategy, just like last week. We're on page 35 of the workbook, and just as a reminder, you can create note cards using the format that's designated here. You can do a blue vocab connection chart. You can do the vocab visuals, and just as a reminder, on the front you're writing the word and drawing the picture, and then on the back you're writing the definition, root, and explanation of your image. If you're going to be doing the vocab visuals, make sure you're cutting out your squares. And then your final option are the word pyramids. So choose whichever one you want to do. Make sure you have the proper materials in front of you. We're going to start with a root. So on your root card, you will see apo and epi. The definition is to fasten or to attach. And you can add this to your root card, lesson 6, to fasten or to attach. There are 2 words this week that use this root, and the first is aptitude. Aptitude is a noun, and it means a natural talent or ability, or quickness in learning. In a sentence, Michael Jordan's aptitude for basketball is legendary. So obviously this is referring to his natural talent or ability. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy. And just so you're aware, another common use of this word is when talking about different tests. So you may have heard of an aptitude test, which would be a test that assesses your talent or ability or quickness in learning. So if you're ever asked to take an aptitude test, that's what it is, kind of like is shown in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner here. It's a common use of this word. The second word that uses this root is inept. Inept is an adjective, so it's a describing word, and it can either mean without skill or inappropriate or out of place, foolish or absurd. So in a sentence, when he arrived on the scene, the officer was faced with the most inept driver he'd ever seen. So that would be a driver who does not have very good driving skills. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy. Another sentence, so inept that he cannot kick a football or fly a kite, Charlie Brown suffers Lucy's perennial contempt. And if you're looking at that second definition, foolish or absurd or out of place, the sentence from your book says, to say, hi there, upon meeting a dignified official would be inept. It would be out of place. It wouldn't be appropriate. Those are the only 2 words that use that first root, apo or epi. We're going to move on to the second root. So if you need to pause the video at this point to work on your vocab strategy, please do. But the next root is jungo, and jungo means to join. Please add jungo to your root card. And remember, just like last time, the roots are all combined on the quiz, so you need to know the roots all the way from the beginning of the year. The test this week will be over the words from lesson 5 and 6. The first word that uses jungo as a root is adjunct, and it's a noun meaning an added part not essential to the whole. So as an example, with increasing reliance on technology, handwriting may become an adjunct of education, meaning it's no longer essential because everyone's using technology. And I don't know if you knew this, but your tailbone is actually an adjunct of the spinal cord. It no longer has a function. So something that's added and not essential would be adjunct. And remember, it's a noun, even though you might be tempted to use it as an adjective. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy. There are 4 more words that use this root. The next one is one you may have heard in Spanish class, conjugate. Conjugate is a verb, and it means to give forms of verbs in a fixed order. So Senora Doring may have asked you to conjugate the verb ser, and you would need to give different forms of that verb as is shown in the picture in the upper right-hand corner. So those of you taking Spanish will see similarities in how we conjugate verbs in English. The sentence in your book says, conjugate the present tense of the verb to see as follows. I see, you see, he sees, we see, you see, they see. Those are all different conjugations of to see. So don't forget to add this to your vocab strategy. Again, pause if you need to, but we're going to move on to the next word, which is injunction. Injunction is a noun, and it is an authoritative command or order. In a sentence, Apple sought an injunction to prevent other companies from selling similar products to the iPhone. So they basically were trying to get an order written up that would prevent other companies from making a phone that had similar functions to the iPhone. And there's a judge there because it's authoritative command or order. The sentence from your book says, university students in China received an injunction against protest marches. So they received a command telling them they were no longer able to protest. The next word that uses jungo as a root is also a noun, and it is juncture. It means a serious state of affairs, but it can also mean the condition or point of being joined, as shown with the picture of the roads. So make sure you write down both definitions because these definitions are very different. The Cuban Missile Crisis marked a juncture in the Cold War. That sentence uses the first definition, a serious state of affairs. However, if we were going to look at the second definition, you might say the Panama Canal has provided the juncture of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. So the point where the two oceans are joined. Again, this is a noun. The final word that uses jungo as a root is subjugate. Subjugate is a verb, and it means to conquer or to dominate completely. So Hitler's goal was to subjugate all of Europe, then the world. Soon after the German army subjugated Poland in 1939, Britain declared war. So there's another example. And again, this is a verb. We're going to move on to our last root and our final three words for this lesson. Your next root is stringo, and it means to tie together tightly or to tie, or to draw together tightly or to tie. So you'll see that written there on the root card. Make sure you add it to your root card. And this one should be fairly easy to remember. If you think of a string, you're able to tie a string. So you can kind of use that to help you remember the definition for this one. And again, there are 3 words that use this root. So you'll have 10 total words at the end of lesson 6. The first word is astringent. This word can be used as either an adjective or a noun. So if you're using it as an adjective, it means harsh or severe. So Simon Cowell is known for his astringent views on American Idol, his harsh comments, his severe judgment. However, you might also see this word being used as a noun because it also is a substance that tightens tissues. So it's a actual medical term for a substance that doctors might use to tighten tissues. So if you nick yourself, apply an astringent to stop the bleeding. In that sentence, it's used as a noun. Another sentence in which it's used as an adjective from your book, astringent criticism from one political candidate often draws an equal biting response from an opponent. We have 2 more words we're learning. The next word, this is your 9th word, is straight. Now notice this is spelled differently from the straight that you're used to, which is spelled S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T. This straight is actually a noun, not an adjective, and it has 2 definitions that are very different, so please make sure you're writing both definitions. The first definition, a noun, would be a narrow passage of water connecting 2 large bodies of water, which is shown in that first picture on the right. So a strait might connect the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, for example. And please do not get this word confused with juncture. Juncture is the condition or point of being joined. It can be water, roads. It really could be anything, whereas with a strait, it is specific to water and connecting 2 large bodies of water. So make sure you know the difference there. Strait can also be used in a different way. The second definition written there is a difficulty or bad position. And if strait is used in this context, it's usually plural. So it's straits as opposed to just straight. And that's what you'll see in the sentence there on the screen. The family found themselves in dire straits when the car became buried in an avalanche, as is shown in the picture on the right. During the Depression of the 1930s, many people were in economic straits, meaning they were in difficult or bad economic positions. And sometimes people will talk about having financial straits, which means that they have money problems or are going through a difficult time with money. The final word for lesson 6 is very similar to the last word we looked at. Instead of astringent, it's just stringent, no A. And so I made a little note there for you to make sure you know the difference between stringent and astringent, because the definitions are very similar, but you do need to know when to use one versus the other and how the definitions vary. Stringent is an adjective, just like astringent. And it has 2 kind of definitions here. First, it can pertain to having little money. So scarcity of money. But it also can mean severe, constricted, or tight. So if you think back to astringent, the definition was harsh or severe, whereas the definition for stringent is severe, constricted, or tight. So the difference there is that astringent can also mean harsh. Stringent can also mean constricted or tight, but both words include that word severe. So both words are a synonym of severe. However, there is more to the definition that you need to know. So make sure you're writing everything down for these. As an example, California has stringent rules on water usage. So this is an example of it being used to show a very constricting or tight rule. And that's why I have the little raindrop there to kind of correspond with that sentence. And as in another example, because of stringent budget cuts, some schools could no longer finance programs in music and art. And in that sentence, it's using that first definition pertaining to scarcity of money. So at this point, you should have 10 total words filled out for lesson 6, as well as 3 roots. And make sure that you have those vocab strategies completely filled out so that you can get full credit for your lesson 6 vocab.